Hey there, YouTube. So I think we're going to try to repower this tiller today with the 6.5 horse 212cc Predator motor from my favorite store, Harbor Freight. So I guess I'm going to do an unboxing of this thing also, and here's some specs on it. I'd read all that stuff off to you, but it's going to take a while. But this is the 212cc one, and it's a horizontal shaft. And I was able to find a coupon. They had this on sale for, it was like $119 or $129, something like that. And I was able to find a coupon and get it for $99. So I actually have a second parts box over there. So hopefully a lot of the parts will interchange with this, but I have a lot of extra recoil, and I might even have the gas tank and stuff like that. So right on the box, this thing says for use on pressure washers, cement mixers, compressors, mowers, log splitters, vacuums, tillers, water pumps, chipper shredders, generators, and blowers. So you can put this motor on a lot of stuff. So I might have to get a new throttle cable for this, or I might have to get a new pulley for the crankshaft, because I don't know if these crankshafts are the same. So here is our manual, which actually I have a whole bin full of manuals and stuff. There's schematics and all sorts of stuff in there. Oh, that's your high altitude operation above 3,000 feet. We are not at 3,000 feet here. This is probably to take off the spark plug, so I don't need that. We'll pull this thing off. Get rid of that. Oh boy, this thing's bigger than I thought. So they say to put in gas and fuel stabilizer and add engine oil. So I'm going to put engine oil in this thing and gas, but we don't need the fuel stabilizer. Generally what I do with these engines, they have a fuel shutoff on them already, and you don't really need to put the fuel stuff in there. So let's pull this thing out of here. And we'll get rid of that. So I'll bring you guys in for a closer look at this engine. So here's some sort of a card thing around the pull mechanism, pull rope here. Quick start guide, pretty kind of self-explanatory there. Read and understand the user's manual. Okay. But pretty simple pull mechanism there. You have the on-off switch right here. That's on and that's off. We're just going to leave that on. This is your low oil sensor. Actually, that's it right there. And then, I don't know, that's some sort of, I don't know, something. But this is the oil fill right there. Oh, yeah, they did run this at the factory from what I understand. So generally with these motors, for whatever reason, Harbor Freight has left a lot of metal shavings inside of these things, and it's not good for an engine. So I will definitely change the oil in this thing probably a lot more often than you should when you first get it. So we're just cutting the plastic for the crankshaft. So it does come with a key in the crankshaft. There's what the side of the motor looks like. And then there's also another oil dipstick right here. And I think, are both of these dipsticks, or one of these is just a plug? Yeah, this one is just a plug and the other one is an actual dipstick. But what they say to do is to fill these motors up with oil till they drip out that bottom edge here. So have them on a level surface, and then what you can do is just fill it up till it's overflows a little bit. So there's your muffler up top there. Your muffler, those are your valves in there, and there's your spark plug for the coil. And then this is the air intake. And let's see, yep, okay, so they do have a foam filter in here. And it actually does not feel like there's any oil on that, is there? There might be a slight, very little bit of oil. So I will oil that thing up before we use it. It's just a good habit to get into. Well, it's a good snap to get that on. And here's your throttle. That's at idle, and that's wide open. This is your choke. That is start, and that is run. A little stiff, which is fine. And then this is the fuel valve for on and off. That is the fuel off, and that is the fuel on. So to start this thing, you turn the on switch to on. Give it a little throttle. Put the choke over to start. Make sure the fuel's on. Pull the pull rope a couple times. And then once it fires up, you turn the choke off. And then hopefully it would run just fine. So this line here is like a, is this a crankcase breather? What is this? That's something for the carburetor. Actually, this is a crankcase breather for the valves, I guess, and that goes into the carburetor also, or into the air box. But there's your carburetor down there, and you can remove the bottom bolt, and this whole thing will come off if you have to clean this. And then if you have to drain it, you can drain it with this bolt here. So there's two bolts under there. So that's the overview of the 6.5 horsepower 212cc Harbor Freight engine. This is item number 69730. So I guess what I'm going to start doing here is taking off this old motor on the tiller, and then we can go from there. So I'm going to finish putting engine oil in this thing, and I've got to say, it is pretty funny having this brand spanking new motor on this old tiller. Now, this is actually my dad's tiller. He had this thing. They used it whenever he was a kid, and he is, this was approaching 50 some years ago that this tiller was used and and running and stuff. So this is quite an antique, an old machine. And we might be full with oil. In case anyone doesn't know, these Harbor Freight motors have a screen in it to filter out any of the big stuff that might go inside of this thing. And I don't know that Harbor Freight has ran these. I just smell the, from whenever they made it. So we're going to put some gas in this thing. And filling up these motors is not difficult. It's not difficult at all. And it has a little red fuel indicator thing here that'll tell you when it's full. So I kind of like that. But I'm just using, I think this is actually premium gasoline premium gasoline now. And I think that's probably good enough. And I think this, since this is a new motor, what I'm also going to do I'd also like to put in some Marvel's Mystery Oil to provide some sort of lubrication on the top of the cylinder. And this is the only thing I don't like about these bottles, is they can be pretty difficult to open and close. So that is plenty of the Marvel's Mystery Oil. So now I think the next thing to do is finally fire this thing up and watch this tiller turn. Watch these tines turn in the 20 years that I know of, and possibly could be even 50. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to make sure that the fuel is on. And the fuel is on. We are going to choke it, give it a tiny bit of throttle, and make sure the on switch is on, and it is. And I think the next thing to do is to pretty much pull the pull cord and see how this thing fires up. So this is the very first start for this motor, and this is the first time those tines will be turning in 20 to 50 years. So here we go. Actually, I'm going to pull. The tiller wants to drive forward, which I do not have that thing engaged. So I might have to get a longer belt on this thing. Quiet little motor, wow. I'm impressed. So let's see if these tines will turn. And that they are. So here are my initial thoughts on this motor. Hey, it starts and runs good. I know I had a little bit of problem starting it there in the beginning. Like I said, that was its very first start. But you know, it's a $100 motor. I mean, what more can you expect? It bolted literally right up, the same bolt pattern on this as that old Clinton motor. And you know, it has it even has a bigger gas tank. Compare the gas tank sizes from that to that, so probably approaching double. The only thing that I don't like was the oil. I would like to see a dipstick thing up top, and that would be really nice. And I even got the pulleys and stuff all lined up. But like I said, I mean, this thing literally bolted right in. I am using the old hardware, the old nuts and bolts from it. But you know, it started up and it ran good. You know, it has a fuel shutoff and everything, and you know, a lot of times you always have to check stuff like that. See, I turned the fuel off and drained the fuel out of the carburetor in the system here, and I just left the on switch on. So just so you guys kind of know, little stuff like that, make sure it's on, make sure it's choked, make sure the fuel's on, make sure it has gas, make sure it has oil, etc., etc. Now, I probably will at some point change the engine oil again in this thing. They say to run it for like 5 hours, and I probably won't run it for that long. I might run it for a couple and then change it out again, and I may even do it a third time, a second and third time, just to make sure that all the metal flake and stuff that are in that they can it can get out of the motor, because that stuff's like glass running around in there, and it's really not good. Oh, another thing, it's got a really nice pull handle, and the rope is pretty good itself too. Now the gas cap does not ratchet. There's no ratcheting on this. You just kind of open it up and close it and stuff. Nice metal tank. I really like to see that. That's really nice. And I do not know what spark plug this thing would use. If anyone knows, put that down in the comments. And you can adjust the valves on this motor for as this thing wears, and you do that right in there. I have adjusted valves before. I adjusted them in the red zero turn right there, so I have done that before. It's kind of, on a 2-cylinder motor, it's more difficult than on a single cylinder like this one is. But I'll tell you what, I really like these little motors, and for $100, how can you go wrong? This tiller, I know some people go, oh, just go out and buy a new one, but right now I have $110 in this thing. I'll probably have another 10. I'll have $120 in this thing by the time I'm done. And you really can't go wrong on an old tiller like this. And I still want to be able to use this behind the tractor, and also I still want to leave the handles and stuff on there, so if you wanted to use this thing as a regular tiller, you have that option. This, like I said, this one just bolted right up, like literally I didn't have to do any drilling or any fabricating or anything, but I will have to do some figuring out and stuff on this thing to get this to mount onto the tractor. So, well, there you go. That's my initial thoughts on the Harbor Freight 212cc. I think this is about 6.5 horsepower motor, and it does have good power too. We did some tilling with it. I didn't get it on camera though. So, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and hopefully we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.